All right, let's cut the crap and dive right into this shit. Bora Bora, baby. Everyone's all over those overwater bungalows, sipping on those fruity-ass Mai Tais like they own the place.
It's the classic honeymoon fantasy, right? But let me tell you, there's a whole other side to Bora Bora. A history way more badass than those umbrella drinks.
So what's the deal with the name Bora Bora? Sounds like some made-up crap a drunk pirate would come up with.
Well, it kinda is, in a way. The real deal, the Tahitian name is Pora Pora, means firstborn. But, those European explorers with their shitty ears and even worse pronunciation heard it as Bora Bora and boom, the name stuck.
Figures. Those guys always got to fuck things up. But gotta admit, Bora Bora does have a ring to it.
Right. But this whole name thing, it actually tells you something pretty interesting about the place. It's like a big melting pot of cultures all mashed together.
So we're talking Polynesian settlers, European explorers, probably some missionaries trying to shove religion down everyone's throats.
Oh yeah, all that. You got Polynesian settlers rocking up around the 3rd century. Then centuries later, those European explorers stumble in. Then come the missionaries, the French decide to muscle in and take over. Even a freaking queen gets forced out. It's a wild ride, man.
Wait, hold up. They kicked out a queen? Sounds like some Game of Thrones bullshit went down there.
Yeah.
What's the story with this queen?
Okay, so back in the 1800s, Queen Terima-Varua III was running the show. She wasn't too keen on the French sniffing around her kingdom, but you know how it is, right? Bigger guns, bigger army, bigger pile of bullshit. They basically told her to hit the road in 1888. End of story.
Damn, that's cold. So the French just waltz in and take over the whole damn island.
Pretty much. They slapped a protectorate label on it, which is a fancy way of saying they were calling the shots. And get this, they even used Bora Bora as a military supply base during World War II.
They turned this paradise into a war zone. Seriously.
Not a full-blown war zone, more like a strategic hangout spot. Operation Bobcat, they called it. A shitload of ships, equipment, thousands of soldiers. They even set up those massive 7-inch guns all over the place.
No way. So we're talking tanks, guns, the whole shebang.
Yep. But here's the kicker. With all that military crap, Bora Bora never actually saw any action during the war.
Talk about a buzzkill.
Yep.
All geared up and no fight.
Well, I guess it's a good thing for the island, right? No bombs raining down, no beaches getting blown to bits. Still, it's a weird twist in the story of Bora Bora.
Yeah, no kidding. So we've got Polynesian settlers, European explorers, missionaries, the French barging in, and a World War II pit stop. That's one hell of a mix.
Makes you wonder what kind of stories those beaches could tell if they could talk.
Speaking of beaches, let's talk about what makes Bora Bora so damn beautiful. It all starts with that extinct volcano smack dab in the middle of the island, right?
Right. Those two peaks you see, Mount Pahia and Mount Otemanu, that's what's left of that volcano, rising up from the center, creating this crazy dramatic landscape.
And then there's that lagoon. That ridiculous turquoise water that looks like something out of a Photoshop travel ad.
Yeah, the lagoon's something else. It's all protected by a barrier reef. Creates this wild contrast, between the deep blue outside and those bright turquoise shallows inside.
All thanks to an extinct volcano, huh? Who knew volcanoes could be so damn pretty?
Volcanoes, man, they're like nature's artists. They create, they destroy, and sometimes they leave behind something truly breathtaking.
Cheers to that. But let's be real. Most people aren't going to Bora Bora to geek out over rocks and shit. They're going for those overwater bungalows and that picture-perfect scenery.
Of course, it's the ultimate tropical paradise fantasy, and Bora Bora is definitely milking that image for all it's worth. But it wasn't always like this, The first Hotel Bora Bora, didn't even open until 1961.
Get out of here. So before that, it was just, what, a sleepy fishing village or something?
Pretty much. But then came the big game changer, the overwater bungalow.
Ah, yes. The poster child of Bora Bora luxury. When did these fancy-ass bungalows first show up?
1970. And let me tell you, it was a total revolution in tropical travel. Suddenly, you could sleep on the freaking water, wake up to those insane views, and pretend you were a millionaire. At least for a little while.
Sounds like my kind of place. Minus the whole millionaire part. But let's be honest, most people just think of those overwater bungalows and not much else when they think of Bora Bora.
It's the postcard image for sure. But trust me, there's a whole lot more to discover beyond the resorts and beaches. We're talking about a surprisingly diverse ecosystem, from lush rainforests to hidden coves and coral reefs teeming with life.
Well, I thought it was all just palm trees and white sand beaches.
That's what they want you to think. But Bora Bora is a volcanic island, remember? That means a whole bunch of different habitats. You've got the lowlands, which have been messed with by humans, but then you've got the mountainous regions, where the vegetation is still pretty much untouched.
So what kind of crazy shit grows up in those mountains? Talking carnivorous plants, giant spiders.
Nothing that dramatic, but you will find some unique species of ferns, orchids, even ancient trees that have been growing there for centuries. And then there's the marine life, colorful coral reefs, hundreds of fish species, even sharks.
Sharks. Okay, now you're messing with me. I'm picturing Jaws, and I'm out.
Relax, dude. The sharks around Bora Bora aren't the man-eating kind. In fact, there are dive operators who'll take you on shark-feeding dives, get you up close and personal with these amazing creatures.
No thanks, I'll stick to the Mai Tais. But you're telling me this place has beaches, history, WWII relics, AND, a whole ecosystem to explore? Sounds like Bora Bora might actually be more than just a pretty face.
It's a lot more than meets the eye, that's for sure. But we're just scratching the surface here. We haven't even touched on the Polynesian culture, the impact of missionaries, or the whole balancing act between tourism and preserving this unique environment.
Well, shit. Sounds like we've got a lot more ground to cover.
We're just getting started. Buckle up, because this deep dive is about to get even more interesting. Okay, so before we went off on that shark tangent, we were talking about Bora Bora trying to juggle this whole tourism thing with protecting their environment and culture. It's a tough gig, no doubt.
Yeah, it's like, how do you let people experience this amazing place without turning it into a dumpster fire? It's something a lot of tourist spots struggle with.
Exactly. And Bora Bora is definitely feeling the heat. You got thousands of tourists flooding in every year, all expecting those pristine beaches, those overwater bungalows, that whole tropical paradise bullshit.
And those tourists, let's be real, they come with baggage, both literally and figuratively. We're talking trash, pollution, and a whole lot of entitled whining.
True. That. But to be fair, the people of Bora Bora aren't just sitting back and watching their island get trashed. They've actually got some pretty strict rules in place to protect the environment.
Okay, so what kind of rules are we talking about here? Are they banning plastic straws and all that jazz?
That's part of it, yeah. They're also big on responsible waste management, cutting down on plastic pollution, and protecting those coral reefs.
Coral reefs, huh? Those are pretty damn important, right?
Absolutely. They're like the rainforests of the ocean, teeming with life, essential to the health of the whole lagoon ecosystem.
So they're cracking down on pollution. What about the cultural side of things? Doesn't all that tourism kind of water down the local culture?
It's a valid concern for sure, but again, the people of Bora Bora are trying to hold on to their heritage. They've got programs to teach the Tahitian language, support traditional crafts, and keep those cultural festivals going strong.
So it's like they're trying to share their culture with visitors without turning it into some cheesy tourist trap.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance, welcoming visitors, but not losing what makes Bora Bora unique.
And that includes the whole Polynesian heritage thing, right? We talked about those early settlers showing up way back in the 3rd century. What kind of mark did they leave on Bora Bora?
Oh man, their influence is everywhere. The language, the food, the spiritual beliefs. Remember those marae we talked about? Those ancient ceremonial platforms?
Yeah, those were pretty badass. They were like open-air temples or something, right?
Exactly. And they were built by those early Polynesian settlers, used for religious ceremonies, social gatherings, even political meetings.
So even with all the modern stuff, you can still see those Polynesian roots.
Absolutely. And it's not just the physical structures, it's in the stories they tell, the dances they perform, the way they connect with nature.
Okay, but what about the missionaries? We kind of glossed over them earlier. How did those guys shake things up in Bora Bora?
Well, they rolled in during the 19th century all fired up to spread the word of God. And let's be honest, they didn't always go about it in the most respectful way.
Yeah, missionaries have a bit of a mixed reputation, to put it mildly.
They definitely brought some big changes. Introduced Christianity, which ended up becoming the dominant religion on the island. They built churches and schools, had a major influence on the social and political scene.
So basically, they reshaped Bora Bora in their own image.
To a certain extent, yeah. But it wasn't a one-way street. The Polynesian culture didn't just disappear. It mixed with the Christian influence, created this unique blend.
That's actually pretty interesting, like this culture clash that ended up creating something new.
Exactly. And it shows you that culture's always changing, always evolving. It's not stuck in time. It adapts, absorbs new things, transforms.
So we've got Polynesian settlers, European explorers, missionaries, the French taking over, and then a flood of tourists on top of all that.
Yeah.
It's a lot for one little island to handle.
It is. Makes you wonder what the future holds for Bora Bora. Will it be able to hang on to its unique character with all this pressure?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And I don't think anyone really knows the answer. But hey, that's what makes this whole deep dive thing so interesting, right? We're not just digging up the past. We're trying to wrap our heads around what the hell is going on in this crazy world right now.
Damn straight. And speaking of wrapping our heads around things, we haven't even touched on one of the coolest parts of Bora Bora, all the legends and myths that have been passed down for generations.
Oh, hell yeah. Now you're talking my language.
Yeah.
Bring on the mythical creatures and ancient gods.
All right, buckle up. We're about to journey into the mythical realm of Bora Bora, where the line between reality and fantasy gets blurry as hell. So we've covered the history, the environment, the culture, but now let's get into the really good stuff. The myths and legends that give Bora Bora that mysterious vibe.
You mean the stuff that's probably a load of crap but still makes for a good story? I'm all in.
Exactly. Who cares if it's true, as long as it's entertaining, right? One of the most famous legends is about the war god Oro, a total badass in Polynesian mythology. Legend has it, he came down to Bora Bora on a freaking rainbow, landed right on the peak of Mount Pahia.
A rainbow. Talk about a dramatic entrance. Did he have a bunch of unicorns and leprechauns with him too?
Hey, don't knock the rainbow, man. It was a big deal back then. Anyway, this whole divine arrival thing is supposed to be how Bora Bora became a sacred island, chosen by the gods and all that.
So Mount Pahia is like the VIP lounge for Polynesian gods.
Pretty much. And even today, it's still a sacred spot for the people of Bora Bora, a direct link to their ancient beliefs and traditions.
That's pretty cool, actually. Because like those stories add a whole other layer to the place. What other crazy mythical shit went down in Bora Bora?
Well, there's this tale about a giant octopus, Ruahatu, they called him, a terrifying beast that supposedly hung out in the depths of the lagoon, dragging canoes and fishermen down to their watery graves.
A giant octopus. That's messed up, man. Sounds like something out of a horror movie.
Definitely adds a little bit of suspense to swimming the lagoon. And then, of course, you've got the stories of the Menahoon, those mischievous little dudes with supernatural powers.
The Menahoon. Aren't those like the Hawaiian version of elves or something?
Kinda, yeah. They're known for their crazy building and crafting skills. Supposedly, they built a lot of the ancient structures on Bora Bora, working their magic at night.
So they're like the original construction crew, but with a supernatural twist. I like it. Are there any actual remnants of these Menahoon constructions? Or is it all just stories?
That's the thing with legends, right? It's all a bit blurry between fact and fiction. But there are some ancient structures on Bora Bora that even archaeologists can't fully explain.
Ooh, spooky. So maybe those Menahoon were real after all.
Who knows? That's the beauty of it. Leaves room for imagination.
I'm starting to see why they call Bora Bora a magical place. It's not just about the beaches and the bungalows. It's about the stories that have been passed down through generations, connecting the past to the present.
Exactly. Those stories are what give a place its soul, its character.
Well, shit, I gotta say, this deep dive has been one hell of a ride. We've gone from overwater bungalows to extinct volcanoes to ancient gods and giant octopuses. I feel like I've learned more about Bora Bora in the past hour than I ever could have imagined.
That's the power of a good deep dive, my friend. It takes you beyond the surface, beyond the tourist traps, and into the heart of a place.
Well said. So for our listeners out there who are thinking about booking a trip to Bora Bora, what's the one thing you want them to remember?
Don't just go for the Instagram photos. Go for the stories. Go for the history. Go for the culture. Go for the unexpected. Bora Bora is more than just a pretty face. It's a place with depth, complexity, and a whole lot of heart.
And maybe even a giant octopus lurking in the lagoon.
Hey, you never know.
All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into Bora Bora. We've explored the history, the culture, the environment, and even the myths and legends that make this place so damn fascinating. I hope you learned a thing or two, had a few laughs, and maybe even got a little inspired to explore the world with a fresh perspective. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those questions coming.